Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So those of you who like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell, of course. Hopefully I don't have too many glitches going on today because we got a nasty windstorm going on right now. We're supposed to get some just darn right cold weather. Not as cold as you guys up in Ohio, but you know what I'm saying. You guys are going to get real cold. We're not going to get that cold. So my book, which is back here, I'm not going to put the graphic up today. I've been busy today. But The Swiss Effect, available Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and it is also just now being sold at Story on the Square in the square of McDonough, Georgia. So if any of you like going to the most beautiful McDonough, Georgia, go in there and pick up a copy of my book. I will be making a video of that. Probably since TikTok's back, I can make a video and put it on TikTok. So that excites me. So I just got done. Like I said, I've had a busy day. So I just got done being on the Jenny Lynn show. Well, Conversations with Jenny Lynn is what it's called. Although she just decided she's going to change her segment to Jenny Flicks, which I thought was kind of funny. But I was just on that show. I just literally got done with that, and I'm going to be on this one. Then when this is done, then I'm going to be on the Republic News out of India talking about tomorrow's inauguration. So it's a big media day for me. So it's exciting. Actually, I'm pretty much media booked up all week, except for tomorrow. I'm moving the Site Crusader. For those of you who watch the Site Crusader, I am moving that to Tuesday because tomorrow I will be watching Ohio State win the national championship against Notre Dame. So I'm not nothing's getting in the middle of me and Ohio State tomorrow. Nothing. So let's talk about the inauguration. Since I'm going to talk about that later in another country, let's talk about it in America. So the inauguration generally is an outside event. However, Trump is going to move it indoors because of the super cold weather. I've been watching, they've been having events for Trump. I've had my TV on pretty much all day watching his pre-inauguration party, which was pretty cool. A lot of good speakers. It looked like one of his campaigns, just more music. Like Kid Rock, Snoop Dogg, the Village People. I thought that was cool. The Village People were there at the end. Trump came out and did a speech. His granddaughter, Kai, she did a speech. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was a good event. The one thing that impressed me before we get too far into the inauguration tomorrow, yesterday, Trump, and he was in Virginia, and they were doing this ceremony for him in Virginia. And just the whole setting of it, where Trump's overlooking, I think it was the Potomac maybe, but he was overlooking, and probably the greatest fireworks display I've ever seen is going off. It's like, all I could think about was just, bombs bursting in air, and then it took me back to, the origins of the song. And hello, Shauna. Shauna's in the comments today. She's not on the show. She doesn't love us anymore. But it just took me back to how we got to this point as a country and how we had to resist the English monarchy and the crown to get this country to where we are today. And I thought that watching Trump oversee the fireworks, and they had an opera singer singing, the opera singer was singing. There was all these things going on. And I thought, man, what a great symbol of hope, of moving forward, that this country can conquer. We can conquer anything as a country as long as we're together. And, we have the right leader, watching us, watching over us, and making sure that things are going to move forward in the right direction. And that this indirect, policy-driven European attempt at a takeover is rejected by this country. We have to reject the crown once again. And we are, and we will. And so I know Trump doesn't come out and directly say it, But I think tomorrow when we go through and look at his executive orders, we're going to see some direct evidence that Trump does plan on resisting that. So let's get into the inauguration. Like I said, they're moving it indoors because it's going to be super cold. And why make people sit out in misery just to watch a guy get sworn in as president, which is a very significant, important event. However, let's not torture people in the process because they drag these events out, for an hour or whatever. So Trump's Secret Service envoy, I noticed today, and I think somebody on one of the media outlets mentioned it, that they have an anti-drone technology on top of the envoy. So I thought that was kind of notable to pay attention to. They're definitely preparing for drone activity. So after the inauguration, Trump's going to go to the White House, he's going to go to the Oval Office, and he's going to start signing executive orders. Now, we haven't been told exactly what executive orders are going to get signed. However, we can pretty much guesstimate some of the major ones. But first, let's look at the statistics, because I already know what the left's going to do tomorrow. And it's sad that they're going to do this, but I already know they're going to do it. They're going to paint that dictator card. But let's look at the statistics. So George W. Bush signed around 50 executive orders on his first day. Barack Obama signed around 40. Trump, in his first term, signed right around 50. Joe Biden signed over 80 executive orders on his first day. So I don't want to hear none of that dictator stuff, because Joe Biden has signed more executive orders than any modern president in our history. So here are some of the executive orders I think that are going to go down. I think we're going to see a border and an immigration policy get put in on day one. Boom. The Remain in Mexico policy, I'll guarantee you he puts that back in. That was a very successful policy. We're going to see Title 42, maybe, the border COVID policy that shuts it down. He's going to end the refugee camps, most likely. He's going to end birthright citizenship, most likely. I believe he's probably going to change the auto industry fuel standards, because right now it's basically a mandate to gradually force them to switch over to electric. I think he's going to pull that off the table and say, you guys want to be gas powered? Let's do gas. He's going to end the Biden moratorium on liquefied natural gas export licenses. So just like what he's campaigned on this whole time, he's going to initiate the liquid gold, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. And that's going to be the right thing to do. That's going to be a highly successful policy. I don't think there's going to be too much a kickback on how successful that's going to be. The Democrats tried to kick back and say, well, their only excuse was, well, it's damaging to the climate. Well, it was successful though, right? Wasn't it? And they can't dispute that. They said, well, the climate change is damaging to the climate change, but it benefited our pocketbooks. Huh. Even though I just read a study today that even if we continue on with Europe's climate change policy, the Earth is still going to last another 350 million years as a habitable planet. So get on out of here with all that green climate change crap. The science, trust the science. Which is why the Biden administration would never put a climatologist or any kind of scientist that has anything to do with the world on TV. Well, when it was COVID time, well, they couldn't wait to get Fauci on there, because Fauci was a super left, whatever you need, I will provide for you kind of politician / scientist, where these climatologists are not doing that. They are not jumping off the deep end for any administration. They're sticking to their studies. That's all they have. Their name's only as good as their study. So they're not jeopardizing the work that they're putting in. So they tend to hide what the actual science is when it comes to climate change. So another one, more oil and gas drilling on federal land and waters. Yes, let's get that done. We're probably going to see another withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord. I don't ever want to see us get in that ever again. That is a scam, and we end up paying for everybody's stuff. We need to remove the U.S. from the 1992 UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Obvious. He's probably going to use emergency order to get out of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework that Biden created. I'm not as hip to that. However, I do know that it is problematic towards some of our negotiation abilities in that region. He wants to withdraw. He's probably going to withdraw from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. I am all for that. I do not like the IMF. He's probably going to withdraw from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is another European policy. I want to get out of that. He's probably going to withdraw from the World Bank. I want to get out of that. So, obviously, for those of you who watch my show a lot, what's up, G bro? For those of you who watch my show a lot, you all know that I'm anti-Europe. I spent a whole year researching how Europe wants to do us dirty. So I'm trying to use my platform to fight back on that. He's probably going to increase sanctions on Iran and Cuba, which should have, I don't know why Biden lifted that. He just recently declared that Cuba is no longer a threat to American democracy, and they're off the terrorist watch list. Cuba should never come off the terrorist watch list, ever. Iran, we got to get them under control. Trump almost bankrupted that country when he was president, and then as soon as Biden got in, he got back into that Iran nuclear deal, which gave them billions of dollars. Stupid. One of the stupidest decisions that Biden made was doing that. Trump is probably going to put us in the Geneva Consensus Declaration. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically it's an anti-abortion group that is going to kind of go along with the right-wing way of thinking about life when it comes to pregnancies. I think he's probably going to seriously look at a potential withdrawal from the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. So the World Economic Forum actually starts tomorrow as well in Davos, Switzerland. So for those of you who read my book, I've mapped that whole ordeal out in depth. But I'm in favor of leaving both of those organizations. Obviously, the World Health Organization completely botched the COVID pandemic. There were a lot of things they could have done that would have saved a lot of people's lives, and they just did not do it. The World Economic, which I outlined that in the Swiss Effect as well. The World Economic Forum, anything that's got Klaus Schwab's name on it, I want out of my country. That it's not going to do us any good. Klaus Schwab has a very distinct agenda for this nation. And for those of you who don't know, Klaus Schwab is the inventor of the World Economic Forum. So that's why he's attached to that. It's because he is the founder of the WEF. So let's get into another news piece. So Israel and Hamas, as of last night, like very late last night, they have a ceasefire agreement. So it's a temporary ceasefire agreement that's been made. Hamas is supposed to release 3 hostages they're 3 females. They've already done it. I've been watching. They've been united with their families already. So that's a good deal. That's a good thing. We want that to happen. And hopefully we can continue to get these hostages released and back to their families. Israel, however, has expressed interest to re-enter the war when the ceasefire is over. I hope Trump can jump in there and kind of make something happen there. I would like to see that conflict end. I think there's been enough death over there. I want all these wars to end. This isn't doing us any good. Next, I'll give you an update on the case I've been working on with Suchir Balaji. So there's been a lot of progress in the case. Suchir's mom, Purnima, who we interviewed on this show. She was just interviewed by Tucker Carlson. We've been putting a lot of pressure on some of the major media outlets to take this case. Tucker interviewed her, did a fantastic job. He looked at the evidence that she had, and he came to the same conclusion that this was not a suicide, that this is, in fact, a murder. Then Candace Owens, a few days later, she took up the case as well and did a full diagnosis of it, along with reviewed Tucker's interview with Suchir's mom, and she came up with the same conclusion. So we're getting the right people to hear this case, but remember, you heard it from me first. Not that it matters. This getting this justice done is what is important. So also, while the interview was going on, for those of you who don't know any better, go over to X and look up Tucker Carlson and find the interview. He did a fantastic job with it. And he actually, Tucker had asked Suchir's mom if Ro Khanna, who's the senator for Silicon Valley, if he could help. And so they never heard back from Ro Khanna. So Tucker's like, okay, well, really, that's weird. So Tucker got on his phone and texted Ro Khanna right there during the interview. And then shortly thereafter, when everything got posted to X, Ro Khanna added to Tucker's feed and said, hey, we will look into this, and I will get the San Francisco branch of the FBI on it. So I'm going to follow up on that on tomorrow morning to find out if that has happened. If it has happened, I may get lucky and Ro Khanna will say, yes, I have reached out to the FBI. But if it hasn't happened, I would expect to get ignored, because that's what politicians do. So there's the updates on that, and I will continue to keep you guys updated as I know more. So now I'm going to do an in-depth audit of the Council on Foreign Relations. So this is the Council on Foreign Relations is important because this is a very policy-driven organization in our country that has more power than what people think they do. And I was going to add them to my book, but I ran out of time. And at that time, I didn't understand how significant this organization was to the grand scheme of things. So let's get into who they are and what they do. So they're an independent, nonpartisan membership organization, think tank, and publisher that's focused on U.S. foreign policy. So we have a nonprofit organization that is trying to dictate foreign policy. So currently they are requesting that the government officials declassify information about the national security threat posed by TikTok, which, for those of you who don't know, TikTok had a ban. The Supreme Court upheld the ban. TikTok did not follow through with their options and just stayed neutral and didn't do anything. So they voluntarily shut off on, what was that, Friday night? No, Saturday night. And so today, Trump extended, gave them a 90-day extension. So TikTok was back up online like around 1 o'clock or something today, which is good for me because I utilize TikTok a lot. So hopefully they can really, during this 90 days, they can sit down and really figure out what's going on with that. But that's a big concern for the Council on Foreign Relations. TikTok is. And all the things they can be concerned about, TikTok. So let's go through this. So the chair, I'm going to go through some of the board members here. The chair is a guy named David Rubenstein. He is part of the Carlyle Group, which is a very, very powerful brokerage firm. Google them. There's a lot of information on the Carlyle Group out there. Vice Chair Blair Efron from Centerview Partners. Vice Chair Jamie Minsk, who's part of the Geopolitical Advisory Board. The president is Michael Froman. He's it's all he does is he's on the Council of Foreign Relations. Nicholas Beam. So these are all board members now that are non-titled. Nicholas Beam. He's from a company called Venrock. Afshana Mashayeki Beschloss is from a company called Rock Creek. You have Margaret Brennan. So this is an important one. Margaret Brennan is on Face the Nation, which is CBS News. So here we have left-wing media. Sylvia Matthews Burwell, who's part of American University, the education system. And then obviously we've been talking about like venture capitalists and hedge fund managers and asset management companies. So there's your money. So Kenneth Chenault, General Catalyst, Tony Coles, Cerebral Therapeutics. There's the medical industry. Another notable one, Caesar Conda. He's from NBC. Michelle Flournoy, West Exec Advisors. Jane Fraser, Citi Financial, which is a huge bank. Stephen Friedheim from Cyrus Capital Partners. James Gorman from Morgan Stanley. Here's a big one. Stephen Hadley from Rice, Hadley, Gates, and Manuel. Margaret Hamburg. She is the former FDA commissioner for the United States. So there's a political person in the Food and Drug Administration. William Hurd from a company called Chaos. Charles Kay from Warburg Pincus. James Manyika. Well, he's from Google. So there's another big company that has influence. William McRaven from the University of Texas at Austin. There's another university. Justin Muzinich from Muzinich and Company. Janet Napolitano from Cal Berkeley. There's another university. So you're seeing the pattern here. They're covering all the sectors of influence in the country. And I'm just going to go through and get some of the Harvard's got a rep on here. Here's a Ruth Porat from Alphabet and Google. Emerson Collective, MIT, which is Raphael Reif from MIT. The Lincoln Center is represented on here. James Taslet from Lockheed Martin. There's a private military. Estee Lauder was Tracy Travis from Estee Lauder. Fareed Zadaria from CNN. It goes on and on and on with the amount of people. That's just the board. So the Hoover Institution's represented on here. So they mention this on their website. So this is what they have influence in. They're admitting we influence this. The media, Congress, universities, state and local officials, religious leaders, local journalists. So this is all stuff that I have covered in my book, that this is their plan. They have covered every sector of American society to influence it. And they're doing it. And they're doing it with all the great influence of companies and money in the United States. So I went into their donor list and put some of the notable donors. Number one, Jessica Tarlov. So those of you who don't know, Jessica Tarlov is the Democratic contributor to Fox News. And everybody hates her on there. Next, Jonathan Soros, who is the other son of George Soros. Anthony Scaramucci. So he worked in the Trump's first administration. He's also worked at Goldman Sachs, and now he's a Trump hater. David Rockefeller, obviously. Richard Morningstar, Satan. No, just kidding. It's not Satan. But Satan does go by Morningstar. But he worked in the Obama administration. Then you have Ray DeLeo, who's the billionaire for Bridgewater Hedge Fund. Jamie Dimon, he's a billionaire from JP Chase and Morgan. Larry Fink, who runs the largest asset management company on the planet, which is BlackRock. Teddy Roosevelt IV, Michael Bloomberg, Georgia's favorite daughter, Stacey Abrams. She's part of that. Here's one interesting one that I didn't think would be on here. Maria Bartiromo. She is a financial contributor to Fox News. She has her own show on there. I did not think she would be on this list, so I now look at her in a different way. Anthony Blinken, Biden administration. John Bolton, like the biggest Middle East murderer on the planet. He's on there. He worked with Trump, then he started hating Trump because he's an idiot. Alan Greenspan, who is the longtime Federal Reserve chair. Another interesting one that's on here, David McCormick, who's the newly elected Pennsylvania senator. He is a businessman, so it doesn't surprise me he's on here, but it does surprise me that he's on here at the same time. I'm going to be paying close attention to David McCormick for the next few years. Colin Powell's on here. David Petraeus, who is Obama's CIA director. No surprise there. Institutional donors to note. Bloomberg Philanthropies. Here's one that I didn't know what it was, and I had to do a little bit of research into it. But they're called Consejo Mexicano de Hombres de Negociaciones, which is the Mexican Council of Businessmen. So they have it's really the only major foreign entity on here, other than some of the card groups. ExxonMobil, Bill and Gates Foundation, imagine that, Bill and Melinda, I'm sorry. Doria International Trade Association, Mitsubishi Corporation, Rockefeller Brothers Fund, Toyota Corporation, Ford, CBS, Nike, and Goldman Sachs. So that's we've gone through the funding, we've gone through who's their, who their big players are, their board. So let's look at this organization is no short of controversy. So some of the controversies that they have gone through are as follows. So they've received $12 million in 2019 from Ukrainian multimillionaire Len Blavatnik. So it's interesting that this group receives so much money, and we have so many people on here that have direct influence into our government, our media, our financial institutions, where they can continue to push to keep this Ukraine-Russia war going. Obviously, I don't agree with that. I don't want to give Ukraine any more money. However, I did make a TikTok video to save the cucumber mafia on TikTok because they're the greatest Ukrainians I've ever seen. So those of you who are on TikTok, go watch the cucumber mafia. They're the greatest Ukrainians that there ever was. Matter of fact, I think Captain Andrew should probably be the president of the Ukraine. Just throwing that out there. And Snoopy Doggy Doggy. He's my favorite one. Snoopy Doggy Doggy. They're a mafia. They admit to being a mafia. They'll keep everyone safe. They do birthday shout outs, and they show their fighting skills. Snoopy Doggy Doggy does the Cobra. He's Cobra style. So go check them out. You guys not get. They have hundreds of videos. I've watched them all. They're so funny. Another controversy. So they've been accused of supporting globalization in a one world government. I 100% can say that's not a controversy. I can 100% tell you that the World Economic Forum is all about globalism. They admit in the 2024 World Economic Forum that globalism is their main goal. They admitted it in the 2023 World Economic Forum as well. We are not awake to this because our media doesn't talk about what happens at the World Economic Forum. And that's a shame because that is who's pulling our strings. And we need to be paying close attention to this. One clue that I always look for in companies is if they talk about sustainability. The Council on Foreign Relations is no different. They 100% back the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which was developed by the World Economic Forum through the United Bank of Switzerland and voted in as policy by the United Nations. So this is a system that they believe in. that they have tried and tried and tried to push on us. That's where DEI comes from. All these policies that we've been fighting against that got Donald Trump elected, they all derive from this policy of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which coincides with Klaus Schwab's Fourth Industrial Revolution. Now, you guys need to get educated on these things. I can't tell you every last detail of Klaus Schwab's Fourth Industrial Revolution. One of the phases, the final phases of he wrote a book about it called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. It's his bread and butter. The last phase of it is the AI and tech industry. What is America going through right now? We are going through this structuring and battling in the AI tech industry. So this is all happening according to plan. And Donald Trump needs to step in there and really put guardrails up for this industry. I am going to be pushing heavy with our elected leaders and anybody who will listen to me. That law needs to be created to put these companies in guardrails so this AI industry does not go crazy and out of control. We're heading in that direction right now because they're trying to advance the technology without putting the laws in place. That's not going to work. It's going to be a major disaster, and it's likely going to affect millions and millions of people all across the world. So this is something that has to happen. I don't want to say it needs to happen. It has to happen. It's going to put Americans in danger. Like I said, the AI systems, they will, right now, there's no guardrails that says that they can't just evolve on their own. They need to be put in check. They need to have, you can only go this far left and you can only go this far right before the system corrects you. That needs to be put in place because it's just like putting a parameter in a system. And you want these parameters in place to keep it even. If you don't, if you disagree or if you become a target by the AI system, they can shut your car off. They can make your car drive into things. They can just empty your bank accounts. They can do all kinds of things. We are going to be linked up so heavy into tech that this system will have full control over everything that is linked up to a satellite, the internet. It doesn't matter. And we need to put guardrails up for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. They just showed a video of Joe Biden falling down. It's not funny, but it is funny. They're showing the pardons. So Donald Trump only pardoned 238 people when he was president. Joe Biden has pardoned 4,200 people. Barack Obama pardoned 1,900 people. Nobody else pardoned over 1,000 people. Can you tell who is in favor of the criminals? Just let them all out. Why not? Let them cross the border too. Screw it. We don't need to know who anybody. Let them all out. Oh, so Biden issued more pardons today. So that's what they're doing. I'll have to look and see who all those people are. But we need to understand that the inauguration is tomorrow. That's the main reason for this episode, and that things are going to change. And we need to understand that they could change very rapidly, and we need to prepare for that. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to panic when these changes happen, and we need to be patient and try to reassure people that, look, just let it all work itself out. It's going to be fine. All these policies are going to work out, and I'll guarantee you by 2 years, we're all going to be going, well, good thing Donald Trump did these things because my life is better now. And we'll see the significance of how better our lives are going to get. I want to see these wars end. I want to see our real wages in the positive, to where our value is bigger than the inflation, which I think Donald Trump knows what to do with that. So there's a lot of things that are going to change, and we need to be prepared. Hopefully, people don't get that stupid. I've been seeing a lot of reports where the progressive movement is not working. People are abandoning it, and they're willing to work with Donald Trump. They're willing to listen to his ideas and his plans. I think that's fantastic. I'm excited for that. What we need to do as a conglomerate of society is start to be kind to each other. And I just talked about this on the podcast I was on a little bit ago. We're not going to be able to get rid of the negative energy in this world until we start emitting more positive energy. And I think at this time, when the left is in a panic, that we should reach out in the kindness to them instead of continuing to beat them down and say, oh yeah, you guys, your communist ways have failed. It's true. We know it's true. However, I think we could do the world more justice if we can say, hey, I don't hate you. I don't dislike you. We're going to disagree on policy, but you're still my neighbor. You're still my friend. You're still my uncle. You're still my cousin or my brother or whatever it is. We have to move past that these policies and our differences destroy families. Let's work on the family structure. We have all these things going on. Just for me, in this new year, I've had a lot of new opportunities open up for me. And so I'm trying to take them one step at a time. And, it's surreal to me a little bit because I was just a podcaster and I had just a tiny influence on X and on TikTok and here. And now all of a sudden, like I'm in a rap video. I'm on, the Indian news. I'm doing all these things. I'm getting invited in left and right by different people. I just got told today that a CNN executive has bought my book, and things are happening. And so I'm excited for 2025. I'm hoping that I can make a positive influence in this world in some kind of way, and that hopefully people will take me seriously. I do put a lot of time into this, so I don't want people to think that I just up here blabbing my mouth. I spend a lot of time researching, a lot more, probably more than the average bear. But I know it's going to be a short show. I made 5 pages of notes thinking that this was going to last like an hour. But man, I went through it too fast. I did too much listing, but that's okay. So everybody, please be safe tomorrow. It is going to be cold. Make sure you have enough gas. Make sure you have blankets or whatever in your cars. Just be safe out there. Be prepared for the unexpected. And, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. And hopefully we'll have some good reports of some of the things Trump's done. We're going to talk about his executive orders in depth and exactly what did he sign. So I'm excited about that. I want to see, above all, the World Economic Forum get defunded. Eat that, Schwab. But that's all I got for today. Be safe. Know where your kids are at. And just love one another. It's easy. It's easy to love people. All right. Well, I am out. So peace.